I mean this shit sincerely from the bottom of my heart. Fuck that holy book, nigga.
Dang, dude. Chill.
It tells women if a man forces himself on you, he has to pay your father a fine and he has to marry you, and you have no legal say whatsoever, and he has to be married to you and can never divorce you.
Alright, so the verse he is mentioning is Deuteronomy 22, and it states that if a man has sexual relations with a virgin and they are discovered, he must pay her father 50 shekels of silver and marry her because he violated her, and never divorce her. But in the King James Version, it uses rape instead of sexual relations, so he must be mentioning that translation. But the Hebrew word translated as rape in Deuteronomy 22 is different from the verb used in verse 28, which is translated as seizes. The verse immediately before Deuteronomy 22 deals with rape, and the rapist is executed. Well, the penalty for the man in Deuteronomy 22 is to pay the bride price and marry the woman, not death, like the rapist in the past passage. So, the passage is part of a larger section of Deuteronomy that deals with the offenses involving women. Also, Deuteronomy 22 is trying to say that if a man knocks up a woman consensually, then the man should stay and not be a deadbeat.
Oh yeah. Slaves, obey your human masters and everything, like the way you would obey Christ.
Alright, so he's talking about 1 Peter 2:18-20, and it instructs slaves to be subject to their masters, even those who are unjust, and to endure suffering for doing good. This submission is not due to the master's authority, but for the Lord's sake, recognizing Christ as the ultimate master. It emphasizes a radical Christian approach to subjection, where slaves, though owned, are free in Christ. The passage addresses servants, often slaves in that era, who had no rights and were owned by their masters. It acknowledges the brutal reality of slavery, an empire-wide evil institution. However, the New Testament doesn't directly attack slavery, but undermines its foundations. The instruction to be subject to masters, even unjust ones, is part of a larger theme of submissions to human institutions for the Lord's sake. This submission is not about endorsing the institution of slavery, but about living out Christian faith within it. The passage highlights that Christians, even slaves, are free in Christ, and their ultimate allegiance is to Him.
And I'm sure this one was the white man's favorite. If a slave owner beats a slave with a rod and the slave dies right away, then the owner must face punishment. But if a slave lingers a day or two, since the slave is the owner's property, it doesn't matter. There's no punishment to be faced.
I don't know why you're specifically bringing white people into this, even though almost every race has faced slavery. But anyways, he's mentioning Exodus 21, 20 through 21, my bad. And it says, anyone who beats their male or female slaves must be punished and the slave dies as a direct result. But they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property. So, why didn't the Mosaic law allow for slave owners to beat their slaves? Well, the obvious answer is that in the social structure of ancient Israel, physical punishment was considered the appropriate response for acts of disobedience and rebellion. However, based on the larger Old Testament context, it is safe to assume that slave masters were not allowed to do whatever they wanted to their slaves. In Exodus 21, slave owners are limited in what they can do. If the master goes too far and the slave dies, the master will be punished. If the Old Testament law is followed consistently, then the punishment for the slave owner might even include the death penalty or murder. Furthermore, the law that an owner who hits a male or female slave in the eye and destroys it must let the slave go free to compensate for the eye. And an owner who knocks out the tooth of a male or female slave must let the slave go free to compensate for the tooth. So mistreatment was forbidden.
Nigga, I would piss on that book.
Anyways, guys, don't show hate to this man I made a video on. Just pray for him and hope he finds faith in Christ. And this was my first little, I guess, apologetics video. You know, for my first time, I don't think I did that good. But, you know, I'll keep practicing and I'll keep reading my Bible and trying to do better so I can defend Christianity. Anyways, God bless y'all, and y'all have a good one. See ya.